BMW is definitely one of the world's pioneering automakers when it comes to making electric vehicles. Or at least it was in like 2013, 2014 when it launched the i3, which was a bespoke electric vehicle built on a special platform that used carbon fiber reinforced plastic to keep its weight down. The boxy i3 was at one point the world's second best selling electric vehicle after the ubiquitous Nissan Leaf. But since then, other manufacturers have caught up to BMW, and Tesla burst onto the scene, changing the automotive world forever. And BMW is only now starting to try to catch up or make up the difference between it and Tesla, as well as it and other manufacturers whose electrification programs are a bit more advanced. BMW's second bespoke electric vehicle that is not related to any internal combustion engine vehicle that it also sells is the car behind me, the iX. It is a very, very important model for BMW. It is a huge 5-meter SUV that rides on a 3-meter long wheelbase. It's really, really huge. So the iX was revealed last year. It is a bespoke electric vehicle, as I said. It rides on a special platform developed specifically for it. And in fact, BMW will not use it to underpin another model. However, some of the features and the techniques used in this platform will surely make their way into the Neue Klasse platform, which BMW will debut in 2025, which is another bespoke EV architecture. But unlike this one, that will be used in a whole slew of models. The iX has attracted some controversy, especially for the way it looks, or mainly for the way it looks, although there is also a certain waviness to some of the pressed metal panels, like the doors. They look like circus mirrors, the reflections I mean. It looks kind of weird. But let's talk about the grille first. So, it's big, and it's not really a grille, and BMW made it even bigger than it had to be. Like, if you had any doubts about that. I mean, this part, there's nothing behind it. It is completely blank. It is just here to drive the point home that this is a BMW. It is really big, and with this GoPro that distorts the image, it looks even bigger than it actually is. I don't think it's that offensive. In context, I think it looks good, and it does hide some of this car's very advanced driver assistance sensors. So the array of sensors is about this big. In fact, you can see it if you observe the heating elements that are there in order to melt ice in winter and keep this array clear so that the car sees what's in front of it. BMW also says that this grille, which looks like it's 3D but it's just flat, is actually coated in a special polyurethane that is supposedly self-healing. As you can see, someone etched a few lines into the plastic, and so far it has not healed. I didn't do it. It's not my etching. I would have done a better etching job than this, but there you go. And interestingly, there's some bubbles trapped in there. Not sure what that's about. The headlights, this car has the optional laser lights, which are amazing. They are some of the best headlights on the market. BMW's headlights are exceptionally good, in my experience at least. The front end, if we look lower down, under this, this hanging grille here, that is, well, it's kind of pointless. We have some active shutters, and in fact, when this is closed, the entire front end of the iX is closed. Most EVs still have at least some sort of opening that's always open, but the iX doesn't. The A-pillar is pushed more forward so that the greenhouse is bigger, and it's huge, we'll get to it soon. But there's still a lot of hood area, and BMW finds no reason for you to open the hood, and thus has decided that this is where you're going to fill the washer fluid. I do like these elements. They are like grayish in the standard car, but this has the optional copper finish, which I think works very well, for my millennial eyes at least. Moving to the side, the iX comes as standard with 20-inch wheels, but my tester has these optional 21-inch aero wheels, which interestingly are shod in specific tires. So they are Goodyear, Ultra Grip, specifically for electric vehicles. And they also have the asterisk thing, the star, where is it? That tells you they are BMW specific. Well, they are anyway. And they even have a QR code here that you can scan, and then the vehicle will know what tires it's on, and it will alert you when you have to change them. Optionally, you can get the iX with air suspension, but my tester has standard springs, and it's perfectly comfortable with them. I was very impressed by the ride quality in this vehicle, but I'll talk more about that when we actually drive it. Along the side, the guys from the straight pipes noticed that there's a lot of waviness in the metal. I'm not sure if you can see it or if I'm catching it correctly. I've not seen this in any other car. It looks like a circus mirror, as I said. Not sure what that's about. I assume it has something to do with the stamping process. Not even sure what material this is. Might even be plastic. This definitely sounds like plastic. This is aluminum. So yeah, maybe this is aluminum as well. And maybe in the pressing process, you get some of this weirdness. I mean, just look at how it distorts. So the copper finish that I mentioned also goes along here and all the way to the back. The same finish is applied to the flush fitting door handles, which thankfully they are not of the pop-out kind, which I don't really like. You know, pressing on one part and then pulling on another, that's way too many things to do. So this doesn't negatively affect the car's aero because it does not protrude. And you can just open the door like this. My tester has optional soft close. And in case you were wondering where you slot the key, there's a little lid here, and there's the actual physical key thing. From the side, even though this vehicle is branded an SUV, and it is an SUV, I think there's also a bit of a wagon about it. I mean, the rear end the overhang is not particularly large, but there's some touring wagonness about this vehicle that I'm not even sure I can describe. One of my favorite design touches, and I do enjoy looking at the rear end. I think it's very nice overall. One of my favorite touches is the kink, and then this part here, which has the iX logo. As you can see, it's quite tasteful. And I think this is one of the best applications of a floating roof type design. I think it gives the vehicle a very unique look. So moving to the back, I absolutely love these slim lights. I love the slim lights in the front as well, I have to say that. I absolutely love them, and how the light is like diffuse, and these light up sequentially when you unlock the car. So that's pretty nice. BMW is fitting its electric vehicles with the mini diffusers where exhaust used to be, because the Bavarian automaker's designers are clearly missing adding something there. More strange reflections here, but this piece, I cannot stress enough how difficult it is to press something like this. So you see nothing, and then it starts to crease more and more and more. This is very difficult and expensive to do, and it is very well done here. It's a really nice piece, this entire clamshell style hatch. Let me open it up real quick. Nothing fancy, just a button. So the capacity inside is 500 liters, and even though the hatch itself is quite large, it will reveal a much smaller opening than you might expect, because as you can see, this part here is all covered up with fancy carbon fiber reinforced plastic, but this is not usable space. This is all taken up. The trunk capacity is actually 500 liters. There's underfloor storage for your cables. You can very easily fold both of the seats. They just fold down. That's pretty good. This extends the available space to 1,750 liters. So it's fairly roomy, but it is smaller in terms of cargo room than you might expect. Manufacturers are also required to have lights even with the hatch up. So that's why the car has these lights here, which have all the functionality you would expect, including indicators, for instance. There is no separate button for the vehicle to lock itself when you close the trunk, although you can set it to automatically lock when you do that. I'm pretty sure there's a setting. And now, for what I think is the pièce de résistance. the interior. Let me just put these seats back up and I shall step aboard. So the driver's seat is set in my driving position, and what's remarkable is that I can very easily slide my feet underneath the front seat. I am 183 centimeters tall, as you can see, no problem. What makes sitting in the back of an iX extra unique is the fact that even the middle seat has plenty of legroom. As you can see, let me see if I can illustrate this. As you can see, there is a cutout in the back of the center console, and you can stretch all the way in there. So you have a lot of room. It's very comfy. I would not have a problem traveling in this seat on a longer journey, although I do have to say the backrest, it is quite hard. The outer seats are ridiculously comfortable. This one is okay. Sitting in the back of an iX, your forward visibility is blocked by these headrests that are integrated into the backrests, and you get a little hole here. I mean, I honestly cannot think of any reason why this would be here. The only thing that comes to mind is you would fit a racing harness through there, but again, that doesn't make sense, does it? Rear occupants are also spoiled for charging options, well, as long as it's USB-C, because you get two of them here and two of them behind the other seat. You can slide this down and you can either put like a coat hanger here or like a table thing for your laptop. But if it's the one I've seen in other videos, then it is appallingly bad quality, not befitting of this vehicle, which is very expensive. I like the blue seat belts. I'm pretty sure they're optional, but I think they are awesome. They are very nice. Although they do clash with my green hoodie. The door pockets in the rear are surprisingly practical. You can fit quite a big bottle in there, I think, and something additional behind it. The armrest is also nice. It is very well positioned, I think, for optimum comfort. No cup holders here for your elbow to fall into. They are hidden here in traditional BMW style. Opening the doors from the inside, you need to press these buttons. These are on all four doors. And while you might think that this is a gimmick, BMW has actually integrated it into a safety system. So if the car detects that you're about to open the door in front of another vehicle, you will press this and nothing will happen. In the highly unlikely instance that this car might run out of battery or something might happen, you have this physical handle here that you can open the door with. It is handily illuminated by the mood lighting LED. Rear occupants also get dual zone climate control. This example also gives them heated seats. So this car has 4 climate zones in total, 2 vents here and 2 on the B pillars, as well as vents for your feet that are nicely illuminated. So whenever you open the iX's doors, you are greeted by this carbon fiber reinforced panel. It is an evolution of what BMW called its carbon core, which just meant that the 7 Series had some carbon fiber elements inside its chassis, and it had a little badge on the B pillar. But this really drives the point home that BMW used carbon fiber in the construction of this vehicle. From the driver's seat, the first thing you notice is the impressive visibility. This vehicle's dashboard is quite low, as is its nose. And this results in a very good view fairly close in front of the vehicle. Like, you can almost tell where the vehicle ends, and it makes it easier to place. I think that this lower dash type design is a very good fit for an SUV. Many SUVs, including some BMW SUVs, the hood might be a bit tall and it will obstruct your visibility. Basically, you will feel like you're looking over it, whereas this, it just goes down and it grants you plenty of visibility. Another cool point is this optional upholstery. There are no animal products in this iX, and this upholstery, which is optional and it's called Loft Stone Grey, it costs 513 euros. These materials are recycled, including this Alcantara looking material that is also used on, on the dash. And here further up, it actually has a very cool pattern. It is also present here. Then you get this textile material here, which is soft to the touch. It is also present all around here. This is also soft. And it gives the iX a very cozy interior ambiance. I mean, I prefer this. Not sure how hard wearing it is or how it will look in 5 or 10 years, but I think this makes the vehicle feel more inviting than if you simply had, you know, plastic, hard plastic like this. Another thing that really strikes you when you climb aboard an iX is the array of screens. It is not as flashy as Mercedes approach with the huge screen here that goes all the way down, and then you can opt for the hyper screen that goes all the way to the passenger. BMW has opted for this dual screen curved setup with a 12.3-inch digital driver's display and a 14.9-inch infotainment display that runs iDrive 8. I'm not going to get into too much detail on the infotainment. However, I will say that it looks a bit daunting at first with all these apps. All the apps, I mean. There's quite a few of them. But overall, it is a good system. I'm sure BMW will improve it over time. And, for instance, it will improve this, which I think is a mess. I mean, why on earth could you not fit them all on the screen? Why would you have to slide from one side to the other? Just make the icons a bit smaller. Or stack them, or do something else. I think this is a very uninspired choice. Although you can automate many of these functions so that the car does them for you and you hardly have to ever use this screen. It's on right now, for instance. One very cool feature that this iX has are infrared heating elements embedded in many surfaces. In the armrest, in this part of the door, and in this lower part of the dash. Couple that with the heated seats and the heated steering wheel, or steering hexagon, and this further enhances the coziness. The digital gauge cluster is configurable. You can choose different layouts. You can even change the head-up display from here, which is, I think, quite a nice touch. So you have 3 layouts, this one, and this one. I prefer this one, which is the most traditional, I guess. But I do change these views from time to time. I think the range prediction one is the most important, although you can have the map and other screens here if you want. My tester also has the optional crystal elements, which are called the clear and bold interior trim, and they cost 1,179 euros. And you get these Mercedes style seat control buttons made out of crystal, and I think they are quite nice. And in fact, they work better than Mercedes' latest because these actually click, so you know when you're moving the various parts of the seat. I don't like Mercedes' approach. I think this is simpler and better. I'm not sure why they removed the clicker from those, but there you go. More crystal here for the infotainment swivel wheel and the volume control, as well as the transmission selector thing. One slight source of weirdness here has to do with the fact that you don't actually have a dedicated parking position. You can move it from reverse into neutral, into drive, and into full region mode, but then there's no, there's no way to press it to put it into park. You just have to press this park button with the symbol that you usually associate with the parking brake. The armrest cubby is very deep and very practical. It's all good. The shortcuts for the infotainment are embossed into this piece of open pore walnut, I think it is. And it looks, I have to say, all of this looks amazing, but they are sometimes hard to see and hard to find. Thankfully, the entire panel clicks when you press it, so you don't hit any of the controls by accident. This is where BMW thinks you should put your phone, and BMW is right. That is a great place to put your phone. These are the vents, the main central vents for the climate control. They work quite well. You can close them up, aim them higher, the usual. They are traditional. There's nothing fancy about them. Some vehicles allow you to control them through the infotainment. Other vehicles have adopted fancier solutions, but not the iX. It is fancy in other areas. I must also praise the iX's interior for the integration of this screen. which the curved screen, the curved array of two screens that is. It makes this minimalist cabin look and feel, well, like a concept. To be honest, driving the iX is the second time in my life that I felt that like I'm driving a concept car. And the first time was when I drove another BMW, the i8. But this is not as concepty on the exterior, it is more concepty inside. The steering wheel deserves a shout out before we take this car for a drive, because for starters, I think it looks great. I generally think that even though there is some form over function present in the interior of this vehicle, and the steering thing is included in that category, I think overall the trade-off works. You lose some traditional practicality, but you gain a very, very unique aesthetic, and nothing looks like this car, not even another BMW, and it makes me really hopeful for the future of BMW interiors, which, even though they are probably the best built on the market right now, they are not the most imaginative. So I'm happy to see that BMW is trying new things. And it has not ignored practicality. So again, open the door by pressing the button, and you have this huge space here for, I guess it's a 1 liter bottle, and then additional space here. You have two cup holders under this floating center console. That's the wireless charging pad. Here are your two charging USBs. Charging in data, actually. So yeah, the BMW iX, very special inside. Now I'm gonna drive it and tell you more about the EV side of things and how it behaves on the road, how a 2.4 ton, 5 meter long, almost €100,000 electric SUV handles on the road. When you start up the iX, you get a little jingle sound. The steering wheel comes towards you, and then you just silently pull away. Unlike some new electric vehicles, you still have to press the start-stop button to enable the vehicle. Even just driving it a couple of meters, it's pretty clear that this vehicle is very, very refined. So my tester is the iX40 xDrive, which gets two motors, one for each axle, that together make 326 horsepower and 630 Newton meters of torque. That's enough to send the iX to 100 kilometers per hour in 6.1 seconds and onto a top speed of 200 kilometers per hour or 124 miles per hour. It's really, really quiet in here. It is surely down to the soundproofing that BMW has applied to this vehicle, but it's also more than that. For instance, this car, it may look quite slabby from the front and not very aerodynamic, but its drag coefficient is really 0.25, making it ridiculously aerodynamic for something that is shaped like this. And even without the air suspension, and with the larger 21-inch wheels, this vehicle is still remarkably comfortable. The air suspension that you can specify on this vehicle also has adaptive dampers, and it supposedly gives it a magic carpet ride, you know, the automotive journalist cliche. Now, speaking of the powertrain, I have to say that even though this is the base model, the base iX, it is plenty pokey, let me tell you. When you floor it, it feels very rapid, even now when we just have 25% left in the battery. I will try to demonstrate the acceleration as we power out of this roundabout. And you will also hear the acceleration, the fake noise created by composer Hans Zimmer, who also composed other sounds inside the BMW iX. But when you floor it, it sounds like... And even when you decelerate, you start to hear the woo sound. It's a very satisfying sound, even though it's fake. And it gives this vehicle character. EVs are not known for their character, because much of a vehicle's character, at least if you ask an enthusiast, they will tell you a lot of it is down to the engine. And now BMW has to find a way of reproducing that sensation without an actual internal combustion engine buzzing away. And it becomes louder in sport mode. Okay, so you select sport mode. This is a bit more of a chore than it used to be in older versions of iDrive, because now first you have to press on this My Modes button, Then a screen pops up, and then you select one of these modes: personal, sport, and efficient. BMW says that it will add additional modes over-the-air updates, but right now these three are the only ones you get. This entry-level iX starts at 78,000 euros. The battery pack in this xDrive 40 tester is made by CATL in China, has a total capacity of 76.6 kilowatt hours and a usable capacity of 71 kilowatt hours. This gives the vehicle a WLTP range of up to 425 kilometers. However, that is with the smaller wheels and a lower spec vehicle with fewer options, because the more you add, the heavier the vehicle gets and the less efficient it gets. In its most efficient guise, the iX xDrive 40 will use under 20 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. During my drive, I've averaged around 28, 29 in spring temperatures, so it's not being excessively cold. In a best case scenario, in the real world, you should easily be able to exceed 300 kilometers even in this iX equipped with a smaller battery pack. That shouldn't be a problem. Although in winter you will not achieve 300 kilometers, so keep that in mind. If you really want the utmost range, you should get the 50 model. And if you want the utmost performance and better range than this, and if you have a lot of money, you can opt for the newly revealed M60 model. Throwing the iX into a corner, you forget how heavy it is. The steering is quite positive and precise. Even with non-adaptive suspension, the iX doesn't really lean that much into corners. I will say though that this vehicle's turning circle of 12.8 meters could be better, and I think if you really want this vehicle, you should spend extra on the rear wheel steering system. That makes it feel much smaller and more nimble. This is still okay, but in some tighter maneuvers, you will have to shuffle the vehicle forward and back more times than you would like. I think this is a vehicle that must be had with rear wheel steering, especially if you park it in a parking lot like the one in front of my building where there's hardly any space. When you power out of corners, you feel like you're being pushed by the rear end, even though this is a dual motor, all-wheel drive vehicle. And the steering gives you confidence to push the vehicle quite hard. I like that. I think it's great. And it's a traditional BMW trait that you expect to find in all their vehicles, even their large ones. I haven't driven all the electric SUVs on the market, but I have driven plenty of them, including the Mercedes EQC, which is a main rival for the BMW iX. Although the iX is a bigger, roomier vehicle. I haven't driven the Tesla Model X, which is a direct rival to this vehicle, but with the larger battery pack, it matches the Model X for range. It's a BMW, so it drives better. It is much, much better built. The interior is of very high quality. The assembly quality is wonderful in here, to be honest. It is ridiculously roomy in the back for rear occupants. And it is a remarkably accomplished long-distance companion. The only problems with it are, well, the way its front end looks, which might not be to everyone's taste, the very high price, and the weight. I also don't like some of the automation that BMW has equipped this vehicle with. So for instance, with the adaptive cruise control, there's no longer a button on the steering wheel to set the distance, the follow distance. And if you browse through the infotainment, you will eventually find a reference to the fact that the vehicle adjusts the distance automatically based on whether you are on a highway, a smaller road, in town. But while this system may work, and I'm sure BMW would not have included it if it was not tested and insured, and the manufacturer ensured that it worked, that it did what it was supposed to do, I'm pretty sure people would have liked to adjust their own distance. I mean, it's something that I've gotten used to in cars, and now I have to get used to living without a feature like this. One of the automated features that I do like, for instance, it just came into effect now, and it is the variable brake regen that changes based on where the vehicle is. So the car's positioning system looks at where it is on the road, and then it also knows what's in front of it. So for instance, now there's a vehicle in front of us, and the vehicle started regenning more as I got close to the vehicle in front. If there was nothing in front of me, the car would have kept coasting. You can also put it in B mode, which is max regen all the time, and it is a true one-pedal driving system because the vehicle comes to a halt without you touching the brakes, and I think that's pretty good. It's one of the better implementations. It is similarly good to what I experienced in the Kia EV6, for instance. Charging the BMW iX can be done at up to 195 kilowatts, but that's for the larger 105 kilowatt hour battery pack. For this smaller 71 kilowatt hour pack, the maximum rate of charge is 150 kilowatts. And according to BMW, at 150 kilowatts, it should take you 31 minutes to bring the state of charge from 10 to 80%. From a more common 50 kilowatt charger, which is the most common fast-ish charger in Romania and the one that I have the easiest access to, you're looking probably at over an hour and a half maybe, from 10 to 80%. If you want to charge the vehicle via an 11 kilowatt wall box, you're looking at a time of around 7 hours and 15 minutes. Although it might be hard for you to fit an 11 kilowatt charger at home because many residential electrical grids do not permit it. And with a 7 kilowatt wall box, you're probably going to spend 15 hours, so keep that in mind. Although, one advantage of this iX with the smaller battery pack is that you spend less time charging it. Although interestingly, it is not significantly lighter. It's just a few dozen kilos in it between this and the 105 kilowatt hour. I honestly would have liked BMW to make a sedan or a sporty car instead of the iX SUV. But I understand why BMW opted for an SUV instead of something weird. I mean, it did try weird the first time around with the i3, and that proved remarkably popular, but now more people want SUVs. So in order to maximize this model's chance of success and the profit returns, BMW opted to make it an SUV. And it is by no means a misstep. I would not pick an electric SUV. I would still try to buy a different type of car, because I think that making it an SUV does defeat some of the efficiency, although I have to say that the iX is comparably efficient to smaller electric SUVs like the Skoda Enyaq or the Audi Q4 e-tron. They use similar amounts of electricity. And it's a feat that BMW has managed to make this big iX, which has as much room inside as an X7, as efficient as electric SUVs one size class down. BMW has for years embarked on a journey of efficient dynamics, and I think that same philosophy, even though it's not called that anymore, is still applied in the iX. What the iX tells me is that the Neue Klasse will be something quite spectacular and very different to what we've become accustomed to from BMW. The iX is a great standalone model, but let's not forget its platform will not be used in another BMW. It was developed specifically for this, and it will only be used in this car. But some features will definitely make their way into the Neue Klasse platform and a new range of electric BMWs. I think it's a great sign of things to come. It's a great electric SUV. For what it is, it's an amazing vehicle. It has a wonderful, unique interior. It is very comfortable. It draws a lot of looks. It is very good to drive. It is very roomy. Yeah, if you are looking for an electric SUV these days, a big one, and you have around 100,000 euros, if you do have that kind of money to spend on an electric SUV, you should really look no further than the BMW iX. It really does it all. As an all-rounder, it is currently the best electric SUV in this size bracket on the market today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Like it and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.